Hello everyone, and welcome back to the One Step from Eden tutorial series. Last time we discussed the general mechanics of the fast-paced roguelikes in hopes to help with the runs. But now it's time to talk about the bosses. That will be some of the real roadblocks. This video will cover only 7 out of the 12 bosses, as the remaining 5 will get their videos in the future, because they'll have a lot more to focus on. So, which boss should we start with? Oh, I know! Lufo, you pick!
How did I get here for the second time now?
One Step from Eden video is going up in a few days. We have to record it.
Oh, I see. How many bosses have you done so far?
That's your job. Choose the first one.
Reva is one of the bosses you'll encounter on your way to Eden, and she can be one of the easiest or the hardest to deal with. As a playable character, Reva takes things slow and builds up defenses. Her attacks to take note of are things like her 3-tile shield attack, her summonable minion, or maybe even her diagonal.
No! I don't care if the joke is overused. We don't talk about that thing!
Fine, whatever. Her other attacks include shockwaves that'll move from right to left across the player field. This is a good time to get damage in if you can time it, thanks to Reva standing completely still right in front of you. Her final attack includes grabbing a reflector and tossing some weak projectiles in the air. She has 6 uses on her purple reflector, so if you hit it with weak projectiles and use up those reflectors, she'll hit herself a few times. I prioritize killing the slasher enemy she spawns whenever possible. Reva's great with phalanx spells. She comes with a built-in 2 defense and gets a shield every time she so much as takes a step. Her reflector gem weapon allows you to ignore damage from all but a few specific effects. She's complemented with poison spells, shields up, and wait 'em out.
So, this is definitely a boss battle you want to be done early because late game scaling is insane for this one. Let's start at the core of it. Multiple lane swiping attacks, an attack that only gives you 1 spare lane and that you need to move out of quickly, strong area attacks on your side that can be very difficult to move around, every sword coming from up, down, left, and right, and not to mention the big old screw you that is Slicey getting in your face and hitting the entire row you're standing on, plus the tile she is on. That's mostly the easy difficulty though. How does this caffeine-filled child Vice power up? Well, the sword attacks are going to come back and strike again, and some of the attacks are going to be faster and gain more range. Also, my favorite one to mention, there's just going to be random, constant hail from the sky. So yeah, this boss seems scary, but it actually isn't that bad with some practice. It really puts the focus on being fast unlike the others, and it fits perfectly with Celicy, being a fast-paced character who embraces anima for quick damage into not getting hit when possible. It's a good blend.
Gunner is certainly on the easier side of bosses, with most attacks being focused on area damage instead of hunting the player. With things like blasting each lane one by one, placing mines on the field, or even moving from the top right to top left to bottom right. None of this is necessarily threatening as much as it is taking up a large zone. The other 2 attacks to take note of would be when Gunner leaves the playing field in favor of launching bombs on whatever tile the player's on, and another one where time gets slowed and rows of bullets are launched with 1 gap in them. Does it become harder later? If 3 more bombs make an already easy-to-destroy fuse difficult, then sure, but other than that, not really. Gunner has some decent convergence spells to start, fight me on this, but he works well if you just grab any decent straight shot style spell and let it all rip. Why worry about deck building when you can turn off the brain and play Gunner the way he's meant to be played?
The local Hex 1 user, Hazel, is next up, and a very interesting boss fight, which is going to test your ability to fight field control. Throughout this battle, Hazel will place gun turrets on her side to shoot down the horizontal lane, and fire turrets on top of the player's side to shoot down the vertical. This isn't instant, so you have some time to destroy the turrets and attack directly if need be. There's also a chance she will put crystals that are meant to be destroyed on the front lines. Destroying this tends to lead to a burst of damage on that lane, so it's best to destroy it and move. The real threats are these next 2 attacks though, since they scale much faster with later variants. Number 1 is Wrench. Hazel smacks her wrench and sends a shockwave that will move to the lane of the player. There are easy ways to avoid this, like moving quickly and having good positioning, but Candy Wrapper is also really good. This becomes a dangerous late game since Hazel will have very quick wrench shockwaves with several on the field at a time in the late game. This makes it harder to move if other structures are still up. The final attack is one where she throws several boxes on your side and sends giant crushers from the sky to destroy your side of the field. Wait, how does that attack even work? I can get boxes and crystals, but are you telling me that I'm conveniently walked under Hazel's giant machine in the middle of the forest without knowing? Anyways, this attack will hit each tile one by one, and will cover the whole vertical lane. This becomes a late game threat when about 4 vertical lanes are being hit all at once. Have fun! So, how does this play into her character? Hexawon is the clear brand of choice, but what's better is the fact that area control and placing turrets while managing room to evade attacks will always be key. That's how you Hazel. So, Violet doesn't have much to her battle that makes anything immediately apparent for the patterns. You play DDR, you occasionally beat up a loudspeaker, that's the whole boss. Any words from you, Mr. Dancepad? You're probably better with the character anyways.
I beat the game 4 times on a dance pad, and now I'm Mr. Dancepad. A few tips. Prioritize stepping on green notes above everything so you don't take free damage. Don't shuffle during green notes or you'll lose your shield and you'll take free damage. Destroy the loudspeakers as soon as possible or you might take free damage. If you can't destroy the loudspeakers, get away from them best you can, and eventually Violet will destroy them herself. Incidentally, she can't use the green notes attack if there are any loudspeakers on the field, so destroying them can help entice her to use the green notes more often. Playing as Violet is about her complex weapon usage, but for a crash course, center is fragile, forward is damage, backward is shield, up is trinity, down gives you mana, so pick any spells you want, you have infinite mana.
Alright, I've got Mr. Gun himself, also known as Shiso. This cold-hearted bounty hunter takes his time to destroy your deck and hit you for strong attacks. So playing well is better than fast here. His attacks are all similar and have the same goal. You throw out traps and try to move the player into them. Each direction he pulls will move you at most 2 tiles, and you can fight that so you don't have to move any more than 1. Evade these traps when possible, or else you're in for a world of hurt, as Shiso will take a few quick and powerful hits on the player while they're trapped. He can also use a move similar to Step Slash that has the extra effect of throwing a jam in your deck, and also stealing 10 Sarah. Have fun learning about that one, as I only learned about 10 seconds before doing this voiceover. Adding this jam to your deck will make it harder to shuffle, or just generally keep a deck thin. The other move that is about deck manipulation is a forced shuffle. Shiso will stop moving to aim a 3-wide shot. Getting hit forces you to shuffle and does damage. The remaining 2 attacks are slightly easier to understand though. One, he moves next to the player and shortly hits all vertical and horizontal tiles after, and for the other one he fires in a straight line dealing damage. As the boss levels up, he changes very little. His attacks get a few small bonuses, like 1 claw trap or extra range, but nothing significant to the pattern. This all translates over to his gameplay as well. A slow and careful hunter who can get stronger with each kill. There's no real combo, it just becomes play well and win the game.
Ah, Terra. One character who will block your tiles and you won't be able to do anything about it. Or you could just have the Wings artifact and negate the whole battle. Terra's built around breaking tiles and trapping the player. Her main attacks will have the player being careful of positioning to take the minimum amount of damage. One attack breaks all tiles except for a cross formation and attacks on horizontal and vertical lines alternating. Another one breaks a cross formation and sends spinning blades after you. These blades will bounce around the box with the player and force them to keep moving. The diagonal beam attack breaks every corner and puts down diamonds to move in a diamond shape. She also has 2 attacks variants of each other. They follow the player and break the tiles behind them, and for the alternate, they break fewer tiles but throw some spinning blades. This all gets ramped up with later difficulty, adding more diamonds to the diamond attacks or more random attacks to the cross one. This makes Terra quite the threat, if you don't have wings. The way this connects to the character is good, since Terra is very much so about map control and locking down the enemy's position when possible. The brand most popular for playing Terra is Hearth. They're wrong, but it's popular. I prefer Glimmer, but it's kind of personal preference. I can explain why Hearth is bad on her later.
And that'll be all for this video. This is of course just a quick explanation for the characters, but it should be enough to figure out what they're doing to end your runs. These characters will be talked about more when we get to each character's videos later in the series. With the video ending though, we've covered the very fundamentals of One Step from Eden, and you should be able to get a good run going with a little bit of trial and error. With that said though, that's all for this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.
Now excuse me, I was told to find out if this rag smells like